In this session, we will be looking at the most important concept for normalization, that is functional dependencies. Okay, and for that, we will be using this basic data, a relation which has got 3 attributes and 5 tuples. We will name the tuples as T1, T2, T3, T4 and T5. And let's ask certain questions to ourselves, like if I give you the value of x, can you tell me the value of y? For example, if I ask you a question, if x equal to 2, then y equal to what? Then will you be able to answer this question or not? And if I ask you a question, if y equal to 2, then x is equal to what? Then will you be able to answer this question or not? Now you can say, let's try to answer. Whenever x is equal to 2, only one place x is equal to 2, therefore y will be equal to 2. The first question can be answered. But in the second case, whenever y equal to 2, then x can be either 2 or 3. The question can be answered, but the question cannot be uniquely answered, and that is why I will say that the second question cannot be answered. I want unique answer. Like in this case, when x equal to 2, y equal to 2 is a unique answer. Such unique answer cannot be obtained in the case of second question, and therefore what I will say that the second question cannot be answered. So if x will always give you a unique value of y, then in that case we will be writing down x gives the unique value of y, and we will be writing it like this, a statement like x gives unique value of y, or x gives the value of y. Similarly, from x you can also determine the value of z, because say when x equal to 3, z equal to 3, when x equal to 5, then z equal to 3, and so on. So when I give you a unique value of x, you can tell me a unique value for z, and that's why we can write down x gives the value of z. And similarly, we can also write down the value of x, because given the value of x, you can always determine the value of x. It's like a question, if x equal to 2, then x is equal to what? Now the question is asking us, if the value of x is equal to 2, then what will be the value of x? And the answer is already present in the question, and that is why such types of questions will always be answered, can always be answered, and therefore what I will say that any attribute will always give the value of itself. Given the value of an attribute, you can always determine the value of that attribute. So x will always give the value of x. See, these are called as trivial questions. Okay, the word trivial is quite important here. And why they are called as trivial questions? Because such questions actually need not be answered, because the answer to the question is already present in the question itself. Okay, the statement of the question is consisting of the answer, and that is why such questions are called as trivial questions. For example, if I ask you, what is the name of Ashish Mithole? Trivial question. Name of Ashish Mithole, the answer is present in the question, will be Ashish. Surname of Ashish Mithole will be Mithole. But if I ask you what is the middle name of Ashish Mithole, then you cannot determine the middle name of Ashish Mithole from Ashish and Mithole. Middle name is absent in Ashish Mithole. That's why a non-trivial question. So what I will say, whenever answer to the question is present in the question, that particular question will be called as a trivial question. Like here, answer to the question is already present in the question. Here answer to the question is z, but the question is x. Question is x, answer is z, or the information which is needed in the answer is not present in the question. And what is the information needed in the answer? It is the value of z. So the information that you need in the answer, that is the value of z, is not present in the question. That's why it's a non-trivial question. But looking at the data, this particular question can be answered. So whenever you have a unique value of x, you can always determine a unique value of z. Okay, so remember what do we mean by trivial questions. Let's take other dependencies. From y, can you determine value of x? Y gives z and y gives y. Now y gives y is a trivial question. Y will always give you the value of y, therefore it's a value statement. Now y gives the value of z. Let us check. Tell me, if y equal to 2, what will be the value of z? Now if y equal to 2, you cannot uniquely determine the value of z, because z can be either 2 or z can be either 3. And what does that mean? From the value of y, the value of z cannot be uniquely determined, and there is not only this case, there is a second case wherein from the value of y will not give you a unique value of z. Here for always every unique value of x will give you the unique value of y, always every unique value of x will give you the unique value of z, always. Here sometimes a value of y may not give you unique value of z, and sometimes a value of y will give you unique value of z. So when y equal to 1, z equal to 1, but when y equal to 2, z is either equal to 2 or equal to 3. So what does that mean? From the value of y, you cannot always determine the value of z, and that is why y gives the value of z is an incorrect statement. Similarly, y gives x is an incorrect statement, because whenever y is equal to 2, x will be either 2 or 3. Similarly, when y equal to 3, x will be either 4 or 5. That's why again this statement is incorrect. From x you can get y, from x you can get z, and from x you can get x. All of them are valid statements. Then let us take another attribute z. Z gives x, z gives y, and z gives z. Now again from z you can always determine the value of z. So this question is trivially answered. Let us take the other two questions. From z you will not always get the unique value of x. For example, when z is equal to 2, x can be either 2 or 4. When z is equal to 3, x can be either 3 or 5. So the value of z will not always give you the unique value of x, and therefore saying z gives x or z determines the value of x is an incorrect statement, because you cannot do that always. The value of x cannot always be uniquely determined from the value of z. Then let us take this second statement. Here from y can we get, okay, from z can we get the unique value of y or not? So here in z, whenever z is equal to 2, then x can be either 2 or 4. Sorry, we want to check z gives y or not. Okay. So whenever z is equal to 2, y can be either 2 or 3. Similarly, when z is equal to 3, y can be either 2 or 3. From z you don't get unique value of y always, and therefore z gives y is an incorrect statement. Okay. Now let us take some other questions. We are looking at like question answer format. Okay. Now we will try the combination of two attributes like xy. Okay. Now xy gives x or not, xy gives y or not, and xy gives z or not. Then we will check xz gives x, gives y, gives z, and then we will check yz gives y, yz gives x, yz gives y, and yz gives z, and finally we will check x, y, z gives x, x, y, z gives y, and x, y, z gives z. Okay. Now see, from xy can you determine the value of x? So if you are given the value of x attribute, if you are given the value of y attribute, can you determine the value of x attribute? You can always, because again these questions are called as trivial questions. What is the name of Ashish Mithole? Name of Ashish Mithole will be Ashish, and therefore trivial questions can always be answered. Similarly, given the value of x as well as y, you can always determine the value of y. And okay, now this is not a trivial question, because the information which is needed in the question, sorry, the information which is needed in the answer, the value of z is not directly present in the question. So you need to refer to the data. Now from x and y, okay, if I tell you a value for xy, can you give the value for xz? Yes, you can, because this x alone is sufficient to answer the questions regarding z, because as we have seen here, from x alone you can determine the value of z. Here I am providing you additional information. I will provide you information about x, I will also provide you information about y. We have the value of x, we have the value of y, we can always determine the value of z, not because of the value of y, but because of the value of x. So even though two values are given, it is really with the help of the single value of x that you can determine the value of z, and therefore what I will say, whenever you are given the values of x and y, you can always come up with a unique value of z, and therefore this question can always be answered, and therefore we can say that xy gives the value of z. Similarly, from xz you can always determine the value of x, trivial question. From xz you can always determine the value of z, again a trivial question. Now in this case from xz whether you can get the value of y or not, again we can see x alone can give you the value of y, and therefore z is redundant. On the basis of x alone this question can be answered, but you have additional information, still the question can be answered, and therefore it is a valid statement. So from xz you can always determine the value of y. Similarly yz gives y is a trivial question, yz gives z is a trivial question, and let us check whether yz gives the value of x or not. Okay. Now here y gives x, no, and z gives x, no. So none of the attribute alone can give you the value of x. So we need to check the combination of yz. Okay. Now let's go to the data. When y equal to 1 and z equal to 1, now I will call it yz equal to 1 1. Okay. When yz equal to 1 1, x will be equal to 1, uniquely determined. When yz equal to 2 2, x will be equal to 2, uniquely determined. Yz 2 3, x equal to 3, yz 3 2, x equal to 4, yz 3 3, x equal to 5. So what I can see here, that every combination of yz values is different, and therefore whenever you have got both the values of y as well as z, you can always determine the value of x, and that is why from the value of y as well as the value of z you can always uniquely determine the value of x. Okay. Now see, I would like to focus on this. Yz give the value of x. Right now from yz you can determine the value of x. However, if the data would have been like this, then now this FD will not hold. If the data is like this, then this FD will not hold, because even though I give you the value of y as well as z, for example yz is equal to 3 3, you cannot determine the unique value of x, because whenever yz equal to 3 3, x can be either 4 or 5. So in this data this particular FD will not hold, but if it is 2 3 2 3, then from the value of yz you can always determine the value of x. And last part, xyz will always give you the value of x, trivial question. Xyz will always give you the value of y, again trivial question, and xyz will always give you the value of z, again a trivial question. So what does that mean? It means, let us generalize this rule. Whenever you have got a set of attributes x1 and another set of attributes x2, and from the values of all the attributes in x1 you can determine the values of all the attributes in x2, then we say that x1 gives x2, and it is called as a functional dependency, and you should read it as x1 functionally determines x2, or x1 determines x2, simply determines, or you can also say that x2 is dependent upon x1, or you can say x2 is functionally dependent upon x1. All four things are same. x1 determines x2, x1 functionally determines x2, x1 gives x2, x2 is dependent upon x1, x2 is functionally dependent upon x1, x2 can be obtained from x1, all the things are same, and such a thing is called as functional dependency. So what we can say, that all the things that we have marked with tick are valid functional dependencies, and all those which we are marked with cross are invalid FDs. So x give y, x give z, x give x are valid FDs, y give x, y give z are invalid FDs. Okay. So what does that mean? Whenever from the left hand side you can uniquely determine the value of right hand side, then we can say that left hand side determines right hand side, and the FD is called as a valid FD. Are you very clear with this concept or not? Okay. Now let us see, there is one more angle for defining FDs. There is one more way to define FD. Let us look at that. But before we see the yet another definition of FD, we need to see a terminology, and the terminology is that of agreement and disagreement. Now whenever the values repeat, that will be called as an agreement, okay, and the agreement will be on a particular attribute. So what we can say, there is a repetition of value, so we can call it like T2 and T3 agree upon y, okay, because T2 and T3 have got same value for the attribute y. Similarly we can say that T3 and T5 agree upon z, T3 and T5 don't agree upon Y, T3 and T5 don't agree upon X. Similarly, T2, T3 agree upon Y, T4, T5 agree upon Y, then T2 and T4 agree upon Z, and T3 and T5 agree upon Z. So how many agreements are there in the data? There are 4 agreements. 2 agreements in the Y column and 2 agreements in the Z column. Fine. Total 4 agreements are there. I will repeat the agreements one again. T2 and T3 agree upon Y, then T4 and T5 agree upon Y, then T2 and T4 agree upon Z, and T3, T5 agree upon Z. These are the 4 agreements, all others are disagreements. Okay. And what is the definition of FD? Whenever two tuples Ti and Tj, okay, whenever two tuples Ti and Tj agree on the value of X. Okay, what does that mean? The value of X attributes in tuple Ti is equal to the value of X attribute in the tuple Tj, then the value of Y attributes in tuple Ti is equal to the value of Y attributes in tuple Tj always. Okay, now in this case, if this is always true, then we can say that X determines the value of Y. So what does that mean? If there is an agreement on the left hand side, because X is the left hand side, Y is the right hand side, what this rule is saying, whenever any two tuples Ti, Tj can be any tuples. I am purposefully not writing down T1 and T2, that will be specific. It can be any two tuples Ti and Tj. So how to read this rule? Whenever any two tuples Ti and Tj agree on the value of X, then the same two tuples Ti and Tj also agree on the value of Y always. So what does that mean? Whenever there is an agreement on X, then always there is also a corresponding agreement of Y. In that case, X functionally determines Y. Or if there is a case that there is an agreement on X and there is a disagreement on Y, then this particular FD is an invalid FD. The functional dependency does not hold. Now let us see the meaning of this particular rule. Okay, so we will check all the FDs once again by applying the second rule. Okay, so what does this rule say? If there is an agreement on left hand side, then only you check a corresponding agreement on the right hand side. However, if there is no agreement on the left hand side, you need not check any agreement on the right hand side, and therefore this particular rule will always be satisfied. See, rule is like this. Rule is, if left hand side agree, then right hand side must also agree. This is the rule. Now when this rule will be violated? This is the rule. If there is an agreement on the left hand side, then there must also be an agreement on the right hand side. My question is, in what case this particular rule will be violated? Violation will be when there is an agreement on the left hand side, but there is a disagreement on the right hand side, then this particular rule will be violated. Okay, when there is a disagreement on the left hand, or there is no agreement on the left hand side, then you are not worried about the right hand side. In what case we are worried about? Whenever there is a left hand side on the agreement on the left hand side, then and then only we are worried. Okay, now we need a corresponding agreement on the right hand side, and only in that case the rule will be violated. Okay, so let us see. Okay, let us remember the rule for violation. For violation we need agreement in the left hand side and disagreement on the right hand side. Fine. Now let's see whether x gives y violate the rule or not. Check whether there is any agreement on the left hand side. There is no agreement on the left hand side, and therefore this rule is satisfied. Now what does that mean? There is no agreement on the left hand side, that all the values present on the left hand side are unique. Because if all the values present on the left hand side are not unique, it means somewhere there is a repetition of the value, somewhere the values are duplicated, and if the values are duplicated, then that will be called as agreement. Here all the values are unique, no duplication, no repetition, no agreement, no case of violation, and that is why this particular FD will be satisfied. Similarly, no agreement on the left hand side, right hand side need not be checked, no rule will be violated, therefore the FD is valid. Again, no agreement on the left hand side, therefore no need to check agreement on the right hand side, rule will not be violated, and therefore the FD will be satisfied. And anyways, this is a trivial question. From x you can always give the value of x, and whenever there is an agreement on x, there will also be an agreement of x. Whenever Ti Tj agree on the value of x, Ti Tj will also agree on the value of x. In this case you cannot violate the rule, because violation of rule needs agreement on the left hand side and disagreement on the right hand side. It is impossible, because it will be like saying two tuples Ti and Tj agree on x but they don't agree on x. Now it is completely nonsense. When they agree on x, they will also agree on x, and that is why the rule will always be satisfied. Now let us check these rules. Okay, now y give y, again trivially satisfied, agreement on y satisfied. Let's check these two. Y gives x. Now here you need to check agreement in the left hand side. Left hand side is y alone. There are two agreements in the y alone. One agreement is that of T2 and T3 on y, another agreement is on T4 and T5 on y. But here there is an agreement on the left hand side but disagreement on the right hand side. Now why I am calling it as a left hand side and a right hand side? Because the FD that we are checking is y gives x. So y will be called as the left hand side and x will be called as the right hand side. So there is an agreement on the value of y, but there is no corresponding agreement on the value of x. There is an agreement on the left hand side and there is a disagreement on the right hand side. From the value of y equal to 2, you cannot uniquely determine the value of x, and therefore this particular FD is invalid. Let us check y gives z or not. Again, y gives z, y is the left hand side, z is the right hand side, agreement on the left hand side, disagreement on the right hand side. So whenever y equal to 2, you cannot come with the unique value of z. Similarly, when y equal to 3, you cannot come up with a unique value of z. Again, agreement on the left hand side and disagreement on the right hand side, rule is violated, FD is invalid. Similarly, z gives x or not, let us check. Now there is an agreement between T2 and T4 between z. So there is an agreement on the left hand side but disagreement on the right hand side, and therefore z give x is invalid. Similarly, we will check z give y. So again there is an agreement on the left hand side but a disagreement on the right hand side, therefore this FD will become invalid. Z gives z is trivial, therefore valid. XY, let's check XY. There is no agreement between XY. See, even though there is an agreement between y, there is no agreement between XY. XY combination are different always, and therefore this FD is valid, no rule will be violated. Again, there is no agreement on the left hand side, no agreement on the left hand side, all the values on the left hand side are distinct, all the values, there is no duplication on the left hand side, and therefore always from the value of left hand side you can determine the value of right hand side, and first FD is the trivial one because answer to the question is present in the question. Okay. Similarly, xz gives the value of x will be trivial, xz gives the value of y, xz gives the value of z will also be trivial, and xz gives the value of y or not. So we need to check whether there is a agreement on the left hand side will be xz. Now if there is no agreement in x, there cannot be any agreement in z, because for xz to agree, x should agree and z should agree, then and then only x will agree, xz will agree. Here all x are different, therefore all xz will also be different, and therefore what we can say, there is no disagreement, there is no agreement on the left hand side, therefore the rule is satisfied, the FD becomes a valid one. Similarly, we will check yz. Okay. Now see, yz gives z is a trivial question, yz give y is again a trivial question. We need to check whether yz gives the value of x or not. We need to check whether the rule will be violated or not. Violation needs an agreement on the left hand side and disagreement on the right hand side. So let us check whether there is any agreement on the left hand side or not. So 1 1, 2 2, 2 3, 3 2, 3 3. There is no agreement on the left hand side. Rule cannot be violated. Rule will be satisfied. Therefore, the FD becomes valid one. Now XYZ will always give X trivial, XYZ gives Y trivially, and XYZ gives Z is again a trivial functional dependency. So two things are important as far as a functional dependency is concerned. What are those? Whenever you say X functionally determines Y, it means from the value of X, from the given value of X, you can always uniquely determine the value of Y. If sometimes from the value of X, you cannot determine unique value of Y, then the FD cannot be satisfied. And another definition will be, whenever there is an agreement on the value of X, there must also be a corresponding agreement on the value of Y. Or what we can say, if there is no agreement on the left hand side, the rule will always be satisfied, the FD will always be satisfied. So this particular concept is called as functionally determines, and the concept is whenever X give you the value of Y, it will be called as X functionally determines Y, and the meaning of X gives Y is from the value of X you can get the value of Y always, always, always. So that's all about the concept of functional dependency. In the next session we will be solving examples related to functional dependency, some normal examples, basic examples, and some examples from previous gate questions. Thank you.